Hi, I'm Rob Menzies and welcome back to my channel. Today we are here with the third instalment of the middleweight naked bike ride and review. So we're here today at Ocean's BMW in Torbay, known as the Bike Shack, and we're going to be going out. We're going to be giving you the initial impressions of the F900R BMW, and we're then going to go for a ride on the bike, and then we're going to give you a full overview of what we thought and also the dealership experience when we talk about all the finances. So without further ado, let's crack on and get going. Hi there, so just stopped around the corner from the dealership and just wanted to do the usual first impressions on the test ride. So as you can see, we are here on the F900R. This is the sports model, and as you would expect with BMW, basically everything comes with an optional extras list. So you got to kind of decide what bike you're actually buying. Are you going for the base model, or are you going for something a bit more extravagant? In this situation, it's got to be said, I think the dealership have fully decked this one out. So this has got every optional extra going, and I've got to say, from a first point of view, first looking at the bike, there's a few things that stand out straight away. So first thing I've got to say, and I'll do a bit more on this when I've stopped and I understand it a bit more, but if you're looking for electronics on a bike, this is the bike to buy. It is Darth Vader's bathroom. I'm telling you, this thing has got absolutely everything on it. That dash, which is a full color dash, that's a full-on computer, full-on tablet. It's pretty awesome. Again, if you look at the switch gear, you can see you got quite a lot on the switch gear, loads of menus. This is actually the optional extra where it has the option of electronic suspension, so you can change the suspension up, but certainly there are different riding modes which we're going to go and have a play with, which is dynamic, which is the equivalent of sports, a rain mode and a road mode. So we're going to go and have a play with that one. One of the other things that is really cool on this bike that I like straight away is keyless entry. So I've got the key in my pocket and you just push a button and go. So that one's really, really cool. The one negative I found, well, there's two negatives I found with it immediately getting on the bike. First things that I noticed, one, the seat to foot position, there's not a lot. So I've got to say, I do feel, as someone that is 5 foot, well, what am I, nearly 6 foot, 5'11", something like that, my legs do feel a little bit cramped on this one, so I'm going to need to have a play with that, and I just want to check that this isn't a low seated position or something like that. But yeah, you do notice that the pegs seem really high in comparison to the seat position. The only other thing I will say, after riding the two other bikes that I have already reviewed that you'll see on the channel here, so I've previously done the Triumph Street Triple 765 RS and the MV Augusta 800 Brutale, you do notice this bike is a lot heavier. So straight away you have got a bit more of a heavier feel to it. I'm not sure if that's going to change my opinion of it when I'm riding, or if that is going to do something negative. But immediately getting on it, it rides like a twin, so as you would expect, and that twin kind of acceleration and feel. So I want to have a bit more of a play with it, but some bling stuff on it. So we've got some decent suspension, we've got Brembo brakes, we've got braided lines, really, really nice seating position actually. So I have found it quite nice, other than the fact that your feet are quite high. We do also have the BMW version of the auto blipper, so we also have the quick shifter up and the auto blipper down, so we can go and have a play with that one. So yeah, so far so good, gotta say. First impressions is looking very tasty. I'm loving the whole Darth Vader's bathroom bit that we got with the dashboard, and when we stop after the test ride I'll show you a bit more about it. So next time you'll see me is as we are on the road. Okay, we've been out on the test ride and we are back where we started again. So this is a very, very interesting bike. First thing I need to say is about the seating position. So I mentioned earlier on that it seemed like a low seating position, high peg position. I've got to say, initially that did feel a bit weird, but actually managed to deal with that pretty much straight away. So before you know it, your foot's coming straight back onto the peg exactly where it needs to be. So absolutely no issues with that at all. I've got to say, this bike, from a brakes perspective, so far this bike has by far got the best brakes of any bike that I've ridden. Really sharp. The moment you touch the lever, it's on it, and they're really powerful. So really like that. That's very positive. One of the things I would recommend, is not on this bike, is there is a wind deflector that I think can come up here. Would recommend it. One of the things I did notice about this bike is anything from chest upwards, you're not really getting any wind deflection from this bike, so you do kind of notice it when you are going up to the higher speeds. So anything really above 70-80 miles an hour, you're really going to notice that wind on your chest, perhaps more so than some of the other bikes that I've ridden. So if you are looking at this bike, I know that there is a wind deflector that adds on here. It's a small little deflector screen, and I would recommend that as an optional extra, just to make sure that you're not struggling if you're going to be doing any kind of dual carriageway mileage. From an engine perspective, I've got to say that it's a twin, so obviously when you know it's a twin, it's going to be different from your usual feel that you get on a 3 or a 4-cylinder bike. But I've got to say, the bit that I love about this bike is, as you go through the different modes, the modes really work. So again, as you do rain, it really dulls everything down. As you go into road mode, it's kind of the normal mode, and then as you come into dynamic, it obviously opens it up and is a bit more sporty. However, because it's a twin, you've got to say that the delivery of power is very different from that of a triple or a 4-cylinder, and that makes it really interesting. Because I've got to say, if you go on the triples or the 4-cylinders, you do really get that impression that they always want to rev, they're egging you on, they really want to get you going, and they really want to shoot you to the moon. Now don't get me wrong, this thing will move. You would have seen that from the video that I did while we were on the road. It's quite happy to get going if you twist the throttle, but the bit that I like is that as well as being willing to go, it's also willing not to. So it's completely happy and comfortable at any rev you want to set it. If you're around town, if you're at really low revs, or you want to kind of pick something up, then it can basically dawdle around town, really comfortable, doesn't feel like it's getting flustered, and then the moment you want to get going again, you want to get out on the twisties, it works. Another thing I really noticed with this bike that I was surprised about, I mentioned to you before, I noticed it was a bit on the heavy side. So yes, it is a little bit heavier when you get on it, which is a bit of a surprise. However, the bit that was really good is when you're doing the around town stuff and you're actually going around a roundabout, this bike is probably the easiest I've ridden round a roundabout. Normally when I go around a roundabout, I'm kind of toitering around it. It's a low speed kind of tight turn. This has got a great lock on the handlebars. It really does that very well, and yeah, it's really easy for doing the slow twisty stuff and filtering through traffic. Absolutely great. So what I am going to do now is just come on and show you Darth Vader's bathroom, because I've got to say, this is a bit that you absolutely cannot ignore on this bike. It really is something very special, and basically one of the things you want to do if you're considering a bike and you like having all your analytics, quite frankly, this thing is the thing that is sorting you out. So this is main dash mode. By main dash mode, you can see what setting you're in from a rider mode. You've got your speedo that's you have your speedo, you've got your rev counter that's coming up, and you've got a very clear gear indicator, as well as some times, and if you've got lights on, and what the temperature is. I haven't found a fuel gauge, what am I talking about? I haven't found a temperature gauge on here, but I do notice it does tell you what the normal temperature is outside. However, that is the main one. If we then actually push the mode button, you can then also come down into the sports dash. Now if you're on sports dash, this brings you into a whole new level. So it tells you how much traction control is kicking in, It tells you what kind of braking force you're using. You've got a lovely little rev thing here that tells you exactly what's going on as you're revving the bike. You've obviously got the speedo at the top as well. So this one's a really good one. In particular, if you were doing track days, I think you'd really appreciate this dash. I think that one's really, really nice. I really like that. The other thing that you do get to do is have a look at my vehicle. Now when you go into my vehicle, again, I was astounded by this thing. So as you start going through it, it basically gives you the option to start looking at all of the different settings and calculations and figures and numbers that you want on different trip computers. Also tyre pressure gauge on this particular model. I do think that's an upgrade, mind. But again, you've got everything that you need here, even down to your servicing. So electronic, it really is Darth Vader's bathroom. If this is something that you enjoy, it is really, really, really good. So very impressed with that. There is also a load of extra stuff that you can put on here, so you do also have the option of connecting it to your phone, so you can have satellite navigation, you can have media that's coming through your phone. If you've got Bluetooth headsets going into your helmets, then you can have for your telephone, and you can come in and faff around with the overarching settings as well. So as I said, there's loads of stuff that's in here for you. The other thing that I would say that I have played with is the mode button. So a mode button is here, really, really easy to use. So when you want to change from road to dynamic or to a rain mode, you're just literally pushing the road button, pushing it again until you get the setting that you want, and then you roll off the throttle. When you roll back on again, you're in the new mode. Really, really simple to use. I must say, overarchingly for this bike, I think electronics really win very, very strong. The riding position is definite, but definitely different, but not unwelcome. I found the bike very durable, and I found it really, really flexible in a lot of riding conditions. I could have a lot of fun in it in dynamic out on the roads, but I could also come into town and ride it at slower speeds without really getting upset about the fact that I'm not on A roads and twisties. So this bike is a real consideration, in particular for the money that they're asking. So you're talking similar money to basically most of the bikes that I'm riding at the moment on the middleweights. So again, once you're looking at all of the optional extras you want to put on here so that you get a really cracking bike, you're again talking around the 10 grand mark. But again, I'm looking to go down the lease hire version of this, so again around the £2,000 down, and the 130 per month is what I'm looking at. So on that note, I'm going to head back now to the dealership. We're going to hand in the bike, have a bit more of a chat with the dealer and see where we go, and I will wrap up again in the car once I've handed the bike back. Hey everyone, so we've now come back, gone in and spoken to the dealer, had a really good chat. So just reminding you, this is Ocean's BMW, the bike shack in Torbay. If you're into your BMWs, I've got to say this is the place to come. These guys were absolutely fantastic. Not only have they kept the communication really, really great while I've been arranging all of these test rides, they made absolutely sure that I was dealt with, looked after, had everything I want, had all the information that I want. They were the only ones that have invited me in for a cup of coffee, so that always scores a point straight away. And yeah, gotta say, really, really good. So I have walked away with my lovely package, which has guided me through my finance deal on the bike. We've spent some time sitting down and talking through optional extras, making sure that I know exactly what I want for the bike, so it's not just down to the test ride, but making sure I'm completely clear on the full package. So I've got to say, from a dealership experience, this has been an absolute cracker, probably one of the best so far, and I would certainly recommend these guys if you're interested in this bike. So stick with me as we continue on, and expect a new video coming soon, as we still have multiple rides that we need to do on further middleweight nakeds. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please remember to not only like the video, but also hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos like this in the future. Thanks again for watching, and see you again soon.